The winner of Anime of the Year is...
Oh, what? No!
Okay.
No! I'm sorry. Jujutsu Kaisen is great, but it's
amazing.
too early.
You know, I often think about this moment, and I think it's safe to say now, Jujutsu Kaisen is pretty fucking good. And it's not too early now. Jujutsu Kaisen Season 2 is one of the best pieces of anime of 2023, and I cannot stress this enough. With the Shibuya incident arc already being hyped beyond comprehension by manga readers, yes, including me, I've also read the manga, Season 2 has made a drastic improvement on nearly every conceivable aspect compared to Season 1, blowing everything into the stratosphere in terms of quality, creative direction, action scenes, and even stuff I never thought I would care this passionate about, like the fucking color scheme they use here. I mean, just look at this. How can colors look so pleasing to see? And I hate being that guy. Hey guys, you know that one really cool anime everyone's been talking about every week? It's really good, when everybody's already saying it non-stop. But you know why really everyone's been talking about it? It's because it is that fucking good. And for other reasons. Not to say that other anime were bad this year, far from it actually, but I can honestly say that Jujutsu Kaisen is just on another level. And this is not less thanks to the nature of the manga, as most of the time the best productions in anime are the fighting shonen jump titles. I'm talking Chainsaw Man, My Hero Academia, Demon Slayer, Hunter x Hunter. Also, I am aware of other high quality anime this year that wasn't your typical shonen, but I'm trying to make a point here, so just give me a second. Something happened while I watched the show. Usually I just sit around and watch the episode of the week while eating something and forget about it afterwards. That was my experience while watching My Hero Academia, until I just stopped. I felt like in a coma while watching that show. But watching Jujutsu Kaisen, episode after episode, fight after fight, I was eagerly awaiting for next week even though I already knew what was going to happen. And then I thought to myself, you know what? I think I like this show. Like really like it, like more than I ever thought I would. And after spending a while thinking about this more deeply than I should have, I realized that Jujutsu Kaisen is just the best shonen out there right now. Yes, what a brave opinion, right? When you really think about it, the majority of shonen anime have mostly the same template. Yeah, they make a few changes to spice things up, but the core aspects are always the same. What makes Jujutsu Kaisen stand out above others is that it takes every trope, every cliché established by the genre and mixes it up or expands on it to a level beyond, just like Hunter x Hunter did in its time. And this idea kept creeping into my skull and it just wouldn't leave. But now, I am finally free. I see the truth, and I can finally say, without a shadow of a doubt, that Jujutsu Kaisen, in my own personal opinion, is the best shonen anime out there right now. And again, what a brave and never said before take, right? Even above other amazing productions like My Hero Academia or Demon Slayer, or even above Chainsaw Man. And that may sound a bit odd coming from me because Chainsaw Man is my favorite manga that is also technically a shonen, and I love the anime for that, so let me clarify that statement. Jujutsu Kaisen is the best current pure action battle shonen right now. I don't count Chainsaw Man as a shonen because even if it started that way, later on it does some things really different that makes me not see it as a shonen. The same goes for Attack on Titan and JoJo. When I say shonen, I don't mean the demographic. I'm not talking about that. I mean it in the purest sense. I'm talking shonen like the classics, Naruto, Bleach, One Piece, and now My Hero Academia, Demon Slayer, Black Clover, Hunter x Hunter. I'm talking teenage boy, maybe with a demon inside of them, surrounded by friends, maybe in a school setting that fights the bad guys with their bravery and friendship power. So, let's see why Jujutsu Kaisen does everything every other shonen does but better, making it the peak of modern shonen. Oh, and spoilers for Season 2. Alright, let's start with this one because I feel like it's the most important one of them all. But first, I am no expert. I'm not gonna claim that I can do a better job than any other people, but I have seen and read a shit ton of stories, so I can tell most of the time when something is being done well. That's something you pick up from watching a lot of stuff. When I say that the writing is the most important thing in a story, I mean it even in a manga. Usually in manga, the two most important things you can point out are the story and the art. And a simple example of this is Attack on Titan. A nuanced take on war, xenophobia, and freedom that, even if the art is not on the same level as other works, you gotta admit that the story of Attack on Titan is pretty fucking genius, and that resonated with millions of people. A bad or mediocre story wouldn't have made it this far into pop culture that even my mom knows what Shingeki no Kyojin is. And that's saying a lot. What makes Jujutsu Kaisen's story stand above others can be summed up in one word. Brevity. Or maybe weight. Or consequences. Alright, maybe in a lot of words. On paper, the show has the same tropes that any other shonen does. Main trio of friends, cool mentor, a school setting, cool side characters, protagonist with a demon inside, group of villains, absent parents of the protagonist, tournament arc, and the big bad guy behind everything all along. If you think about it, everything is very by the book. The big difference here is how these elements are handled. Once a piece of information is introduced or something is stated, the story never forgets the weight of what it just told us. When we learn that Sukuna is one of the most powerful and evil curses of the world, everything we hear of him, every time we get a chance to see him, the expectations around him are reminded to us by how the events transpire. This scene is a perfect example, as we get an intense and suspenseful encounter with Sukuna that even if there isn't a character that we care for in immediate danger, everything is that powerful just because of our ideas around him. How he is presented to us is always in line with the expectations the show has built for him, maybe even exceeding them. Every time we see him on a screen, he feels unpredictable and dangerous. And despite his very few appearances, he always feels like a threat, and the story never forgets that. I usually have to put a note on this to know what scene I'm talking about, but now that's not even necessary. It's that ingrained into my memory. And this level of attention is present in every aspect of the show, especially with the character writing. And I love this shit. If every aspect of the show improved compared to season 1, now we have some character moments that are just so good. I can't explain it in words. Well, I kinda have to, that's the whole point of the video. The writing this season is insane. Every action we see has consequences, and all the consequences feel permanent. Everything that happens heavily affects future events and internally to the characters. Especially the character deaths, of which we have a lot. But the characters that stay alive are also really cool, and you can see this in the most subtle ways. Kusakabe, a character that we just met this season, and just with a few scenes he's shown to slack off and be kinda lazy, but at the same time we can see that he's a reliable adult, trying to keep Panda and himself out of danger, and later saving his companions. And this guy has a super cool ability, not a curse technique or a magic thingy, but the power of objectivity. This guy can immediately tell when a situation is over his head and act accordingly. Unlike Nanami that will do anything in his power to protect people never giving up, Kusakabe is a representation of your standard guy. He understands his place in all of this. He's not an overpowered god or a helpless guy, he's just himself. He sees the best possible outcome in a neutral way and goes for it. And he may not be brave or selfless like the others, but he still does his job. It feels nice to see this diversity of characters on the show. We have the reliable good guys, the bad guys that we somewhat understand, and people just trying their best in this complete apocalyptic chaos. Maybe I'm a little biased because I've read ahead in the manga, but I can't help but admire him a little. Also, his design is cool as hell. I'm a simple man, if I see a character in a trench coat, I'm gonna like them, but that's just me. And just like Kusakabe, a ton of people get moments to shine, developing even further their characters in the middle of that mayhem. From Choso doing a 180 and swapping sides and still feeling totally natural as his sole motivation has always been to protect his family. Here I'm also a little biased because he's probably one of my favorite characters, so take that as you will. Also, seeing the real Getos descend into despair and apathy towards humans, and his friendship with Gojo makes watching the movie again more personal and sad. But probably my favorite thing this season is that magnificent moment between Sukuna and Jogo. It's ironic to think how this whole fight and conversation humanizes so much the villains who are supposed to be the curses born out of people's fears. Throughout the fight, along with some of the coolest animation I have seen all year, we can see how Sukuna, more than seriously fighting Jogo, is toying with him, beating the living shit out of him, almost effortlessly. But at the same time, we can see these glimpses of kinship between them as fellow curses. Sukuna actively analyzing Jogo, stating the flaws and doubts holding him back despite being a powerful curse. And none of his comments come out as an insult. They feel more like a serious advice at seeing wasted potential. And then, all of these little touches of almost sympathy by Sukuna culminate in this beautiful moment. As they have a final showdown that ends before you can even realize it, we see Jogo and his friends, not angry or frustrated, but a little disappointed that all of it ended, that they couldn't realize their goal. But they still comfort each other as they have one of them still alive to fulfill their dream. In just a few lines of dialogue, we can see the friendship between them, the trust they have in each other. They can feel empathy, sadness, and joy just like real humans. And as a parting gift, Jogo experiences something never felt by him before. A pride amongst curses. Validation. Seeing him cry by this new experience made me realize how close they really are to humans. It really surprised me how much I liked this moment for a character that a few minutes ago I felt almost no emotion towards. And that humanity shown by Jogo, juxtaposed by Sukuna's lack of understanding those same emotions, dehumanizes Sukuna even further, showing how built different he is as a character. And I don't know, I just think that's really good storytelling. Oh, and how could I forget the guy with the most character development? Other MCs gain power-ups, nah, this guy gains the most heart-wrenching pain someone can experience. And more than once while the villain gets the power-up. Yuji Itadori, but not only him in particular. This is when Jujutsu Kaisen makes a subversion of the tropes that we are used to seeing Shonen, with the dynamic between Mahito and Yuji. That takes a especially brilliant turn when you think about how in this rivalry, Mahito is written like the protagonist that you're supposed to root for. Think about it, this is not the first time something like this happens. A really clever thing Akutami does is giving the usual protagonist-hero story to the villains. It happened with Jogo and his heroic last stand against Sukuna, and now with Mahito. How these things usually go is that a protagonist has a moral high ground, or a lesson that the other has to learn, like how friendship is not a weakness or something like that. Here, Mahito is the one that says that him and Itadori are the same. Yuji kills curses because he sees them as an evil that only hurts people and should be eliminated, and Mahito thinks that humans are just a pest that should be erased. They both have the same ideology, the only thing that changes is who they hate, which puts them in a direct conflict, developing even further their natural enemy dynamic from Season 1. The one who teaches that lesson is typically the hero, a la Naruto and...
I know that feeling. I've been there.
But now, this son of a bitch is the one who imposes his perspective. And not only that, as he's usually the hero, the one who exponentially evolves during combat. But we also see Mahito changing too, becoming stronger and having a deeper understanding of his abilities, challenging Yuji not only on a physical level but a philosophical one too. And once that fact is accepted, the true winner can overcome the other. And we know what happens. And Mahito was right. Once Yuji accepts they're the same, the fight ends. It really becomes a hunter and hunted scenario. You can't really call this a fight, but a one-sided massacre. And you know what the worst thing is? Even if I know all the terrible things he's done, all the beloved characters he's killed, even if I don't have an ounce of respect or care for him, even though I know he deserves it, I still feel pity for him in this situation. This subversion of tropes are what makes Jujutsu Kaisen so exciting. We have an inner demon that doesn't intend to be good like others, ever. In fact, he arguably becomes more evil as time goes on. The enemies are still the villains, but when we see them they're always relaxing and being silly, instead of your typical villain in a cave just planning evil stuff. We have a tournament arc, but it's interrupted by a terrorist curse assault SWAT team. And then the super duper group of villains get fucking obliterated pretty early on. Basically, the expectations we have to any event are always met and just raised for next time. And I know I have mostly been talking about the second half of the season, and while Gojen Gero's past is still done really well and is important to the overall story, it's the Shibuya incident arc what I really feel proved the potential Jujutsu Kaisen has. Alright, I've talked a lot of shit now, so the video must be over, right? Fuck. Alright, who the fuck didn't like the animation on this? But first, once again, I am not an animator, nor do I know the technical stuff. So the most I can say here is, whoa, the animation looks great. Or, whoa, that fight is amazing. So, having said that, whoa guys, the fights are nah, for real though, shonen anime lives and dies by the fights. The story is a really important ingredient, but the animation and fights is what really elevates it, like the McDonald's cheese sauce with fries. That shit is delicious. And the approach taken this season is really interesting. Other anime, especially years ago, had the habit of doing multiple fights a season, with about the same quality for each fight, but saving that big fight, that event, for a special occasion, typically for the culmination of a storyline. The defense would like to refer to evidence NS375, Kakashi vs Obito. And while some other shows have fights throughout the season to keep you engaged as maybe the story is a little weak or slow, here every fight is unique and has its own identity. We have an homage to old school mecha fights. We have teenagers beating an old man. We have 2 Avengers level threats destroying half a city, and a ghostly apparition fighting rabbits and his son. And just straight up savagery here? Here we have one cool ass looking battle, then another one, and another, and another. Even the more tame ones still look amazing. Each fight ups the intensity of the whole conflict so it doesn't waste any time. The show is concise and to the point, and this maintains the momentum of the story. You get that immediacy that makes each fight more intense. And helping the matter is all the liberties the team took when animating these fights. I heard some people didn't like the Season 2 animation because it looked too sketchy sometimes, like it wasn't finished. But dude, what are you on? Yeah, it may not look as clean or consistent as Season 1, but it still looks amazing. Even people walking looks amazing. The changes and experimentation is what gives room to get creative with fights and the overall presentation of the show. Without them, we wouldn't have moments like that punch from Luffy that popularized impact frames going black and white. Devilman Crybaby has a really odd art style that really diverts from most styles, but I don't think that has any bearing on the quality of it. Without change, we wouldn't have scenes like this, or even this. All the fights this season are amazing displays of animation and creativity. Jogo vs Sukuna, Sukuna vs Mahoraga, Although I don't know why they pronounce that name in a different way, but anyway. Yuji and Toro versus Mahito, but my favorite has to be Choso versus Yuji. Here we can see all the elements that make the fights this season so great. This single fight is what inspired me to make this whole video, so thank you, fight, I guess. First, the story. This isn't just a fight for the sake of it. Last season, Yuji killed Choso's brothers, and what happens now are the consequences of those actions. The whole fight has that weight behind it that actually makes us invested in the outcome. Obviously, we don't want Yuji to die, but this is not an unjustified act by Choso either, which is reminded to us by this little bit. He's not just some bad guy, but the older brother of his family. The love Choso has for his brothers humanizes him, and that love is something deeply important to him as a character. And on a visual level, bro, the colors on this thing? Dude, I love how the whole fight plays with light and darkness. It gives such a nice contrast between the scarce but intense glow of the neon lights with the surrounding darkness of the station. A darkness that fits especially well with the bright red of Choso's blood and Yuji's cursed energy that makes every attack clear to the viewer. I can even make a list with all the other cool things in the fight, like the first-person POV of Choso's attacks, how the explanation of Choso's powers by Megamaru is shown on the station screens to us, a few really cool 3D POV shots that reminded me of that Chainsaw Man scene, and man, I just love the bathroom fight. The colors, the water falling down, how Choso and Yuji slowly get ready to fight while the tension builds up by the music and the imagery, and then just releases in an instant like a Bruce Lee fight. And all of this on top with amazing animation, and this happens twice! I love that moment of realization from Yuji. He doesn't think of him as the main character, he's just a part of something bigger, rescuing Gojo in this case. A great display of his selflessness and growth as a character. I love that just before Choso starts hallucinating we have this nice shot of Yuji and Choso's blood mixing up. Good imagery. And how the aspect ratio of the scene starts changing from a 16:9 to a 4:3 to cut to the fake memories. There's so many cool looking things to see on a technical aspect of these fights. The care to details like the molten glass due temperature, the scrappy lines you see sometimes, the expressive and smooth facial expressions, the rotund changes in art style, incredible looking Sakuga, and this. Honestly, I don't know how to begin describing this. It's just an impressive piece of... I don't even want to call it animation even though it is, but it just feels like a work of art. This whole fight seems like an abstract painting at times. It's all these little things that adds up to the whole. I honestly think that Jujutsu Kaisen is the best shonen right now, not only because the manga is already good, but because of all the effort and creativity you see in the anime. A little side tangent, but one of the reasons I fell off hard on My Hero Academia and Demon Slayer was because I felt like I was becoming numb by watching them. The fights are amazing to watch with some high quality animation and direction, but personally, none of that matters if I'm bored by what I'm seeing. I stopped watching My Hero Academia on Season 5 around the joint class training arc. I really enjoyed watching Shinso's return, who I really liked on Season 2. I thought he was a really interesting character, similar to Aizawa, a low confidence with big potential hero who just needed that push to overcome his setbacks. And we just see him for like 2 episodes, and then we dedicate the rest of the season on these stupid fights that are fine, but I feel not a single emotion by watching them. Why should I care for these guys over him, the one with the more compelling story? And people say that later seasons get good again, but I don't know, man. There's just a lot of little things that take me back from liking the show. The overall safe feel of the show, how each fucking time they put the quirk and the hero name of the character on screen. Like dude, we've been watching like for 5+ years. I think I can remember the fucking powers these heroes have without you reminding me every 2 minutes. Alright, sorry, I went off there. You can argue that all these anime are amazing on their own right, but to me, Jujutsu Kaisen feels like it's always trying to one-up itself. Always trying new things, never satisfied with staying how they are. And that leads to all these amazing new things we see here. These little experiments that take the medium further into new realms of imagination. Something I don't see in other anime very often. At least shonen. And fair enough, I haven't seen the last seasons of My Hero and Demon Slayer, so I could just be talking shit. And that's on me. But I think this is above everything else right now. So that's why I think Jujutsu Kaisen is the best Nah, still got to mention one thing. Up until now, I've been praising the anime for the level of quality and creativity they've shown this season, doing a particularly incredible job at it. But all that credit goes to the animators and to the people actually working on it. If you're watching this video, you've most likely heard about all the controversy surrounding Studio Mappa, treating their workers under deplorable conditions, some having several days without going home, tirelessly working and even having mental breakdowns due to the impossible schedule. Basically, think of real life episode 1 of Some 100, but worse. Sadly, this is not something new with the Japanese animation industry, and even less new with Mappa specifically. And I know that my little video won't change the industry overnight or stop the mistreatment, but at least I want to express my disdain toward the situation. To me, the real heroes are the animators actually making the show. They are the people that come up with the creative shots, the amazing sequences, the ones who pour their passion into the stuff that we love, the ones who make it all real. The studio is the one who should be watching out for the workers, so they can smoothly do their work, paying them accordingly and giving them enough time, and they're not. They're just pressuring them even further into giving results with an unrealistic amount of time. I'm conflicted because I'm not going to lie and say that I didn't love what I saw. I absolutely did. But I also hate the cost of what it took to actually make the product. I would have been fine waiting a year or more for the anime if I knew people didn't have to lose sleep over it, or worse. There isn't much I can really say to change the situation, but at least I would like to encourage you to be informed on it. There are a few videos on YouTube that display this reality in a very honest way. And this Trash Taste episode also gives insight with a real animator in a lighter way, so you can check those out. And also, I'm gonna trust that you haven't done this, but please don't go harassing animators on Twitter. This was a serious issue with an episode this season, and with other shows as well. People openly harassing animators on social media. If the episode looks bad, most of the time it's never their fault, but because of the lack of time by the schedules the studios give them. The studios are the first who have to change the way they work so the situation can improve. At the very least, people now are talking more about this problem, so I just hope that this can lead to a real change on how anime is made. Because I love anime, I love animation. This season proved how further people can create amazing visuals just out of their imaginations. Think what we could see with well-paid, well-rested, passionate animators. Wouldn't that be nice? Because, not gonna lie, I want to see the end of the story, in the most creative way if possible. But also, take your time, rest, eat well, get paid well. We can wait for it. So hi, remember when I said that I would try to make more than one video a month? So yeah, I kind of had an existential crisis. I mean, nothing serious, but this video took longer than I thought because I was just second guessing myself all of the time. Mostly because of my pronunciation. Like, I don't know if you know, I don't know if I've said it, but English is not my first language. And I'm pretty confident that I know it pretty well, but the thing that always stays in my head is that if people can't understand. So I have to re-record a lot of times, and I don't know, I just end up second guessing myself and I get frustrated and it's like, alright, cool, I'll keep going tomorrow, and I never do. So I just want to ask you, if you're still listening, thank you, by the way, I want to ask you directly, can you understand well? Like in a scale of 1 to 10, how well can you understand me? And also, I don't know, kind of personality just kicked in and I was like, fuck you, you can understand me. The part of the English language is to like decipher what someone is saying. So yeah, I guess that's about it. Thank you for watching the video. If you liked it, you know what to do. The thing that all YouTubers say. Like, subscribe, all the stuff, comment. Bye. I love ya.